is new construction right for you? That's going to be the question that we are answering here today. In this video, I'm gonna go over the top 15 fears that people have about buying new construction. And so despite all of the incentives, all the price drops, all the deals that we're having, these 15 things are the ones that hold buyers like yourself back the most. And we're going to debunk some of these myths, some of these things that you can do to get over that fear of buying new construction. So if that sounds good, stay tuned. Before we get into it, hit the comments down below and let me know the #1 fear that is holding you back from buying a new construction home right now in Houston. The first fear that most people have are construction delays, and this one affects renters and existing homeowners looking to move into new construction homes alike. There's a timing factor in there with getting rid of your old life and moving into your new home and your new life. That is just a struggle when it comes to new construction because there's so many moving parts. From a material standpoint, from a labor install standpoint, there's only so much that as a project manager that you can control. And coming from that environment of managing people on fairly large projects, houses are very similar in that there are so many agencies outside of your actual construction team that have a say in what you do. There's inspections that have to go through to move to different various phases. You have to have utility things in place from people that are outside of your actual construction. And so there's so many moving parts. That's why when you go and talk to a builder, they'll give you a huge range of what seems to be ridiculous. How can it be 5 to 9 months, or how can it be 7 to 10 months to build a home? That's because there's so many variables in there that they can't control. The one solution that I would always kind of give my clients, if you're coming from the rental environment, I know that it sucks and I know that you're going to be paying a premium, but being in a situation where you are paying month to month is probably going to be the best situation versus having to pay yourself out of an extended lease that would potentially take you outside of your close date. Or if you're in a home that you're currently living in and you are looking to upgrade to a new construction home, getting an extended lease back so you can still maintain in your home for the next 2 to 3 months, depending on what we would be able to negotiate. If you're using me here, we would typically get you as long as possible in your current home, just so there's some overlap between where you are and when you can move into your new home. That's super important. But the #1 way to really get over all of that is to go with an inventory home that you can put eyes on and see kind of where it is and know that it's going to be closed and finished within the next 30 to 45 days. The second fear that many buyers have about new construction are hidden costs or hidden fees. And this one, specifically people that reach out to me, they'll see some of these beautiful model homes or some of these homes that I'm touring on my channel. And most of those are some of the most souped up model homes that you could ever have in a community. And so if the base level for that plan is, let's say, $500,000, the model home of that same floor plan that I would be showing on a channel like mine that kind of focuses on luxury new construction is going to be somewhere in that like $650,000 to $700,000 price point, just because if you can see it in the model home, the general rule of thumb is if you can see it, it's an upgrade. If you can touch it, it's definitely an upgrade. And so all your floors, all your countertops, all your cabinets, all of your hardware, all of that stuff that you see visually, you'll look on the website and it'll be like starting at 500,000, and you'll go in and you'll fall in love with this plan. You'll see it, you'll see that plan should be 500,000. And then when you run some numbers on all the things that are in the actual model home, the hidden cost is that they have $100,000 to $200,000 worth of upgrades. So it is absolutely possible to have some hidden fees. The one thing that I stress to my clients to solve that is honestly go in there with what your budget is. If you want to do something that is super decked out, the alternative is to go a little bit smaller and go crazy on the finishes, or are you going for space and then you have to pare it down a little bit? We can only manipulate the numbers as much as your budget and your approval is going to allow. And so the numbers are what they are. You just have to work within the confines of what your budget is. And the other way to get over that sticker shock or the hidden fees is, again, to buy inventory homes. You already know what that price is if they have it listed or if they're advertising it at that specific price. Buying an inventory home is another way to get over that sticker shock of having hidden fees thrown at you. The third fear that many people have about buying new construction is the quality of the workmanship. Now, I can say this as someone that has come from the construction space and has managed different teams, different superintendents under me, different crews under me, that we are only as good as the superintendent and the crews that are pushing the work and all of their subordinates. We're only as good as the management of the actual construction team on site. People in the office are going to get the plans. The architects are going to get the plans to the crew. But if the superintendent is not high detailed, if they're not checking their work, if they're overworked and have too many crews going at once, then they don't have the detail and the organization to really check in on what's going on. You're going to have slip ups and errors in construction, and construction being one of the last man-made things that we do here in the US, there's a potential for a human error, and there's only so much that one person can manage and do. This is across the board. This isn't like an entry-level builder, luxury builder. I've had people that are building nearly 900 to close to $1 million homes, and we're finding errors. I've had people building, entry-level $200,000 to $300,000 homes, and there were no errors. My motto that I tell all my clients that are looking at new construction is to trust but verify. And the things that we're going to do on our end is the weekly pop-ups or the bi-weekly pop-ups that I do as a service to my clients that are buying new construction. We're also going to get all of our separate third-party inspections. If you're building from the ground up, we're going to do phased inspections throughout the entire process. Quality of workmanship is one of those things that no matter what your budget is, trust but verify. Make sure that you're getting your inspections, and you should be covered. If you're buying an inventory home, I would definitely 1000% recommend that you get a third-party inspection, a final inspection at least, to make sure that all your mechanical, electrical, plumbing, all of that stuff is working. There's some stuff that you can't see because most of the work with construction is behind the walls at that point. But at least before you close, you'll know that you have a clean bill of working home before you sign on the dotted line. So those are the number one thing is definitely you popping up and you getting inspections outside of the builder's reports that they're giving to you. The fourth fear that people have here about buying new construction homes is often the builder's reputation and the builder's reliability. Now, if you look at any of these Google reviews, from entry level all the way up to luxury builders, especially those builders that are in areas that are outside of Texas, those more national builders, some of those reviews can be alarming. One-star reviews are worse, right? And if you get in there and you see a lot of the responses or some of the reviews that people are leaving where they're actually leaving text, from what I gather from that, a lot of those people went into that purchase without representation or someone that has done a lot of new construction sales. And so things that maybe were said to them up front to get them to sign on the dotted line didn't end up translating into what they were actually getting in that home. And so at the end of the day, once you've already moved in and then seen all these things that are wrong, no one was there to kind of work on your behalf to kind of help you through that. I would definitely say be cautious of just reading those bad reviews. Lean on somebody that has experience in new construction to kind of help guide the way. The fifth fear that many people have when buying a new construction home is the warranty coverage. And warranty here is pretty standard. It's 1 to 10 for most builders, most reputable builders anyway, where you have 1 year of basic like bumper to bumper workmanship, craftsmanship kind of warranty. If they install something improperly and it fails on you, they'll come replace it. No harm, no foul, no problem. 2 years basically for anything in the walls and the ceilings, so all your mechanical, your electrical, your plumbing, and 10 years for the structural and the foundation. That's pretty common here in Texas. I know that some of the bigger, more luxury builders out here have their own in-house warranty team, and so their process is a little bit more streamlined compared to some of these smaller companies around Houston that may be building homes. And so two of the questions that you got to have is, do you have a 1 to 10? If you're under that, how do you kind of mitigate that? If you have a 1 to 10, do you service all your warranty calls in-house? Am I going to be dealing with the project manager that built my house? Am I being transferred over to someone else? Those are some of the biggest questions that you want to ask. But from a warranty coverage standpoint, if you're buying new construction here in the greater Houston metro, I would say 90% of builders offer the standard 1 to 10 warranty process. I've seen little disagreements on things that kind of come up after a client is moved in, and that's really like wear and tear sort of items, not necessarily warranty. And there you can have those disagreements with the builder on whether or not that was caused by you or whether or not that was caused by their overall install craftsmanship. Really quick, while I got you here, hi, my name is Aaron and I help busy professionals and families buy luxury new construction homes around Houston, helping them save time, eliminating stress, and having a little fun along the way. If you have any questions about buying luxury or new construction homes in my market, I would love to be a resource to you. Call, text, email, hit me with the comment section down below and let me know if you have any questions or if there's any specific communities that you are interested in. I want to be your go-to. But without further ado, let's hop right back into the video. The sixth fear that many people have with buying new construction are financing complication fears. And that is a legitimate thing. If you're building a home from the ground up, you have to be approved at that moment to be able to qualify for that home when you start building, all the way through when that home is finished. And as we've seen with the volatility of interest rates kind of going up and going down, I know that I have had some clients over the past 6 to 8 months that have been, we were easy breezy kind of at the front, and as that interest rate kind of climbed up towards 8%, that really changes the toll of what we were actually approved for. And we had to either buy down some of the interest rate, we had to do some extended rate locks, we had to do some things to make sure that they could still afford that home at the end of the process of the home being actually completed. And so the financing portion of it's definitely strange and it's definitely weird in today's time with things just being so much more expensive than they were just a few years ago. And some of the things that you can do on your end, again, is if you have that financing war, if you have that fear of potentially not being able to qualify for the home, again, I know I feel like I'm beating a dead horse with this, but it's to go the inventory route. You know what the house is priced at this very moment. You know what the interest rates are at this very moment. Can you afford the home? Are you comfortable with the payment? Do you like what the home looks like? If the answer is yes, then inventory might be the best route, because you lose all of that fear and you lose all of that uncertainty that you have if you were to build the home from the ground up. So that is definitely the number one way to kind of overcome that fear, is to definitely go the inventory route within the confines of what you are already pre-approved for. The seventh fear that many buyers have when it comes to buying a new construction home are their property value fears. What is this thing going to do the moment I buy it? Are the values of the area going to plummet? And I would say if you're buying here in the Houston area, then you are in luck, because we have appreciated in value, I want to say like 31 of the last 34 years. It's some crazy stat like that. And so for many of these communities, I remember when I first moved here, I would see all of the signs that said Bridgeland starting at 250,000. Now your entry level barrier to get into a community like Bridgeland for a single family home new construction is like right around 400,000. The eighth fear that many buyers have about buying new construction is the neighborhood development and what is going to happen right before they move in or right after they moved in. And this is a legitimate concern, specifically when it comes to our big master plan communities that are kind of early on in their development. I know, for example, out in Katy in the Sunterra area, there was a claim when that ground first broke for that community was that they were going to be all exclusively Katy ISD. We have now learned that as the houses started to kind of get in there, there's a street called Stockdick that everything basically north of Stockdick and west of a certain street, I'm drawing a blank right now, but it's north of Stockdick and a little bit west of that main road is a completely different school district, and it's not as great as Katy ISD. There's another community in Humble, Texas, where similarly it was a fight over the Blue Lagoon. When they were drawing those renderings very early, that was supposed to be resident only access to that Blue Lagoon, and if you had a guest pass from someone that lived in the community, you can get into it. After some time, I think the cost of that Blue Lagoon maybe was too much for what the HOAs were covering. Instead of raising the HOA fees, they then opened it up to the general public. But that wasn't what the original homeowners that bought in that community were sold on. They were told that that was going to be their own little oasis. And so that sort of thing can happen here until you know kind of what the developers have planned for that community. Is kind of too hard, or it's too early to say, especially if you're one of the first people to move in the community, how that community is actually going to develop. The trade-off is you're probably going to pay a little bit of a premium. But if you're afraid of what that community is going to do, or you're not having any of the comfort of what you're being sold on renderings, is to wait until those things are in. The next fear that many buyers have when buying new construction in the Houston metro are the design and layout fears. And this one is a real thing. I know that I have a lot of model home tours on my channel. I know that I do, and I try to do a fairly good job of showing you kind of what these houses look like in the area, but it is no way, shape, or form a complete list of all of the models that each of these builders have in Houston. And many times, because these builders know that they have a golden product that many people love, you usually will see that same model throughout all of the Houston communities. And so if you have a budget that is either a little bit under that, or you have a budget that is over that, many times you're buying a house that is kind of like sight unseen, unless someone else in that community has started a home and maybe it is kind of close to being finished. You really have no idea what that house is going to look like live unless you travel to another place. The other way to kind of get over that fear is, again, beating a dead horse. But if you have a certain budget, you have a certain layout that you like, if that layout comes up as an inventory home, you can make customizations and deal with the changes later from a design standpoint, as long as you like the actual layout. The 10th fear that people have about buying new construction homes is the post move-in what ifs. What can happen after I've moved in? And so this is kind of covered by the point earlier. If you're buying a new construction home, you typically have some level of a warranty, whether it's a 1 or 2 or a 10-year warranty, depending on the phase. 1 year for bumper to bumper coverage, 2 years everything in the walls, everything in the ceilings, and 10 years for the coverage. So if something were to happen after you've moved in, you have a warranty. Now that doesn't deal with your wear and tear. You put a hole in your wall. There's things that come in with being a homeowner that you're expected to maintain. You're expected to change your air filters. You're expected to caulk and seal little cracks and things. You're expected to do touch-up painting on your own. Those are things that your builder isn't going to warrant. And so that just comes with being a part of being a homeowner. But again, like I mentioned earlier in the warranty segment, as long as it's something that's realistic, and as long as it's something that makes common sense to the builder, if it's on their side of the fence and it's something that they messed up, they're gonna fix it. So that's definitely nothing to really worry about. The 11th fear that people have about buying new construction here in Texas are the extremely high taxes. And that is something, my friend, that just kind of is what it is. Unless you are living inside of the city, in the city, kind of like in the house that me and my wife bought, our taxes for a brand new construction home in the city were like 2.4 when we bought it, and now we're kind of close to like right at 2. And so in the city, maybe in areas that are in transition, maybe where the schools and the hospitals and things associated with those taxes aren't as good, you're going to have a lower tax rate. But as you get outside of the Beltway, a lot of that land was old rural land, old farms or old ranches. And so you didn't have the internet, the gas, the water, the sewer, trash, all of those services that those communities need. And you're paying a premium, what's known as a mud tax, in many of those areas. And that mud tax can add up to or more than 1% on your property taxes. And so those things go down over time as the community is a little bit older. You'll start to pay off some of those bonds for the community for those services. And so I've had clients that 2 years ago were in a tax rate area of 3.3. Now they're a couple years later, they're right at 3 before their homestead exemption. The other thing that you can do is file for that being your primary residence and your homestead. You'll also get a little bit of a tax deduct. The 12th fear that many people have about buying new here in Houston are the strict HOAs. And to me, that's crazy, because as someone that is in real estate, that sells real estate, new construction at a high level, in places that don't have HOAs, those neighborhoods look the worst. I know everybody says that they want to have this freedom to kind of do whatever they want on their land, but as someone that lives in an HOA community, living across from a neighboring neighborhood that doesn't have an HOA community, their grass is never cut, they have cars in their lawn, their trees and landscaping look terrible, their gate looks always broken. It's just a step down in quality when you don't have an HOA. The HOAs are meant to hold values for a community. The 13th fear that people have about buying new construction here is not being able to get the exterior of a home that they actually like and want. And unfortunately, in those communities that are super premier, especially those that are outside of the Beltway, like your Cane Islands, your Bridgelands, your Town Lakes, your all of those super nice communities, your Grand Central Parks up in Conroe, they have, and the developers have, a I guess what you call like a likeness restriction. And so it's very difficult to get an approval to get the same style of model within like 3 houses of the same style model. Or sometimes there's a color restriction with that as well, so you could have a different style home, but if this home has the white brick with the black trim just like you like it, you probably can't have that exactly next door, because the developer wants things to look a little bit different and some variety throughout the community. And so that's one of the biggest frustrations that I've seen for people coming in that have a specific model and a specific community in mind, is that sometimes they come down with, I want the 222 plan by Highland, I want it to be white with black shutters, and that's like the most popular color palette and model in the community, and there's only one spot to build it in, right? And so you have to work fast, or you have to open your options to go into a brand new community that you weren't researching. The 14th fear that people have about buying new construction homes here in Houston is, what if I have to sell this house quickly? Will I make money or will I lose money? And I will say that on average, if you are looking to sell this house before 5 years, and especially in these super fast growing communities like a Town Lake, like a Bridgeland, these places that are still building, still expanding, and still growing, you're probably not going to come out ahead. Even if your house is going up in value, it will be a little bit of a struggle to sell, because the builders are still offering outstanding incentives. So the builder can throw out a $50,000 design center budget. They can pay down your closing costs. They can pay down your interest rate. And those are things that you can't compete with. If you bought a home in 2022 and they are building that same home for $20,000 more in the community, and they have all those incentives tied to it, you're competing with damn near a brand new home, and you really just can't compete. So you would be forced to drop your price down a little bit lower just to make it make more sense to a buyer that is looking at that style home in that same community. And the 15th fear that many buyers have about buying new construction is picking the wrong neighborhood. And this all really comes down to you. You have to get really granular on what is most important. Is it the schools? Is it the commute to and from work if you don't work from home? Is it the being close to a certain hospital? Is it being close to certain amenities? Is it being close to the bayou? Is it being close to shopping? Do you want to be in a gated community? There's so many questions and so many nuances that it comes to being and buying in a brand new construction community. And there's only so much that we can manipulate the budget and all those things, right? That we have to have a strict hierarchy of what is most important to you. And only you can answer that question. What I do know is, as I shared with you earlier, I may be biased, but I really think that new construction is a no-brainer in today's market, with the amount of price drops, the amount of amazing incentives, and the great builders with great amenities that you can buy throughout the entire Houston metro. It's a no-brainer to me. Hopefully in this video that I have given you some tips and some tricks to overcome some of the fears that you may be having about new construction. If you're ready to make that jump, all of my info will be underneath this video. I know if you like this video about all of the new construction things, I definitely think that you're going to enjoy this video right here.